Hi Year 8s, we're going to start looking at algebra, so that's chapter 4 of your book. We're going to have a look firstly using pronumerals, and by the end of this lesson you should be able to write an expression using a letter to represent an unknown number. This exercise is going to be split into 3 parts. Okay, so I'm going to do the full PowerPoint narration for 4A, but you can obviously stop and start this PowerPoint as many times as you need to, and obviously look at your teacher's lesson plans to see how they may split up this exercise. Okay, so let's have a look at some key ideas. Looks like there's quite a bit of information and some labeling, but we'll just go through it together so we can see what letter or number refers to what word here. Okay, so first of all, a variable is a quantity which can have a different value. So this could be any number, okay? It could be, sometimes it may even be a negative, okay? But if we are dealing with typically a real life situation, these numbers may typically be positive. Okay, so if we just find the word variable, which is here, okay, it's pointing to the letter, which in this case, they're just using the letter N. Okay, so anything that's a letter, we use the word variable, okay? The second dot point is also the same meaning as variable, but we can call it a pronumeral. So these 2 words here actually mean the same thing, okay? So you may wish, when you write this down in your summary books, you may wish to also put the word pronumeral next to or above the word variable. Okay, and we're referring to the letter. This value here of 15, okay, is called a coefficient. A coefficient is only used, this name is only used when it's in front of a letter, okay? If we have a look now here at just the number 10, or just the number 40, we call those constants, okay? Just numbers on their own. Let's have a look at the purple writing. The whole 15n together is called a term. This 10 and the 40, even though they have the name of constant, we can also call them a term. Okay, let's look at the green. All together 15n plus 10n is called an expression. Okay, so is the 40 here. So in fact, it's got 3 names: constant, a term, and an expression. Okay, but typically you would just use the word constant, okay, if we're going to keep it as simple as possible. Now this last bit here in the pink, this whole thing together, okay, you can see my mouse circling around, including the equal sign, we call this an equation, okay? So all of these things together make up, finally, an equation, okay? But remember, it has to have an equal sign. All right, let's have a look at some examples together. So write an expression for each statement, and we're going to use A to represent the unknown number. So question A, 8 more than a number. More meaning plus or addition, okay? So I can write my expression as A plus 8. You may also write it as 8 plus A, that's fine. Question B, 5 times a number. Think about what the word times means. It means multiplication. So we can write it as A times 5, but in algebra, we like to write things as simply as possible. So we get rid of the multiplication sign, we put the number in front, and we write it as 5A. Question C, a number divided by 9. We can write it as A divide 9, or we could write it as A over 9 as a fraction, remembering that division and fraction are the same operation. Here's some more complex examples where we're involving more than one step. And this time we're going to use x as our unknown number. So, question a number is multiplied by 3 and then 5 is added. First, we do our multiplication of 3. Again, in algebra, we'll get rid of the we'll get rid of the times. We write it as 3x, and then I have to add 5 to it. So I end up with 3x plus 5. Question B, a number is divided by 4 and then 7 is subtracted. So we have x divide 4 or x over 4, and then I take away 7, and that's your final answer. All right, let's do part 2 of 4a. Okay, so we're going to now involve simplifying expressions that involve brackets. Okay, write each expression more simply. Now, you might look at this and think, oh, it looks pretty simple to me, but thinking about my last couple of slides that I just went through with you, if we get rid of this multiplication sign, we can now just write it as 4 and then our bracket x plus 2. Okay, in algebra, having a number directly next to a bracket without seeing a sign in between, it is always a multiplication. So this is why we can just leave that times sign out. In question B, again, you might think, oh, this looks simple enough. However, it is preferred in algebra that you change the way you write a division operation into fraction form. Okay, so there are sometimes more preferable ways of writing algebra, and this is one of them. Okay, so you probably want to get used to writing your divisions as fractions from now on. All right, let's have a look at now writing an expression from a statement. And again, we're going to use x as the unknown. Add 3 to a number and then multiply by 7. So we have x plus 3, then we multiply it by 7. Okay, they've shown that step with the times sign, but then we simply write it without the times sign as so. Question B, subtract 5 from a number and then divide by 2. Okay, we've got a division here, so we should end up with something that looks like a fraction form. And there it is. First we do our x minus 5, then we can write it as divide 2, but then preferably write it as x minus 5 over 2. Last part, guys, part 3. So now we're going to write simple equations. Okay, so we're going to now involve an equal sign. Write an equation for each statement and use A to represent the unknown number. So question A, we have 4 more than a number is equal to 15. More meaning addition, and 4 more than that number, A, is equal to 15. A plus 4 equals 15. Okay, simple as that. Question B, The result of multiplying a number by 3 and then subtracting 8 equals 9. Okay, so a little bit more complex. First of all, I have to multiply the number by 3. Then I have to subtract 8. Then that all equals to 9. Let's have a look. 3a. Okay, again, now they haven't shown you the multiplication sign. So at this stage, by now you should know that we can write a multiplication of a number and a letter just by, I can use the phrase, sticking them together, okay, with the number in front and the letter next to it. Then we subtract the 8, and then that expression equals to 9.